was growing up, like where you first lived?
I was born in Singapore. So in Singapore, I lived in a kampong. And the kampong was called Telok Mata Ikan, Fish Eye Basin. I live in an atap house, atap made of coconut fronds. Yeah, but it was a very happy life there because I was always close to the sea. Used to do a lot of swimming. Had a lot of fishing done also. Had a lot of picnics. Had a lot of good friends around. Because it was in a kampong, I had a lot of Malay friends, Chinese friends, Indian friends. So we learned how to speak each other's languages. Played a lot of soccer together, but our soccer ball was always very crude, very old soccer ball. Couldn't afford to buy new ones. And
how was your life living there compared to your life living here?
living there, it was a different time. When you are young, you always you don't have any worries. Your parents take all your worries for. They sort of, the parents are very protective, but we struggled when we were younger. Didn't have much money. Our family didn't have much money, but we had enough to eat. We had a roof over our head. When I grew older, Singapore Navy in Singapore, I was on board one of their missile gunboats. It was a gunboat, and at that time my job was corralling the refugees that were coming from Vietnam. Vietnam had a war there, and the South Vietnam lost the war. A lot of refugees, and they ended up in Singapore. So my job on board the ship was to try to put them all in one place. And our job there was to actually take them from their old fishing boats and put them into bigger ships that came in, because they were actually coming to Australia, making sure that their boats were all okay. And also at that time, we were also involved in chasing pirates, Indonesian pirates. I was what you call an RPI, a radar plotter instructor. So I was helping with navigation. I did 6 years in the Singapore Navy. I decided to come to the island because when I was schooling, I read a book called A Pattern of Islands, and they talk about an island very similar to Christmas Island, but it was Kiribati Islands. They had an administrator there, and they talk about the life on the island. To me, it was quite nice. So when I heard about Christmas Island, I decided I'd like to come here. So I actually ended up here in 1977, and the life on the island was about the same like my life in Singapore, kampong in Singapore. I actually work in the marine department, which is the stevedores. So life was tough initially because I came in as a labourer. I had to carry the phosphate bags. The phosphate bags at that time weighed anywhere between 20 to 25 kilos. So we used to carry them on board ship, and the system of work is so different now. Now it's easier, it's all mechanical. Last time it was all manual. And while I was working, I sort of was getting $8.13 a day, which is $1 and few cents an hour. And now, getting almost $50 an hour. So the difference in pay. But when I first came to the island, we used the 1 cent and 2 cent coins here.
Tell me about when you went to school.
In the younger days, I was educated in what you call a Christian private school. My first primary education was in a school called St. Stephen's School. I did my primary 1 to primary 6 in St. Stephen's School, and when I went in for my secondary education, I was educated in St. Patrick's School in Singapore.
Who were your classmates?
My classmates were not people from the island. They were all Singaporeans. So I don't have any classmates here. So because we come from big schools, we get shuffled around different classes. So in our school, we might have about 1,000 children, and maybe 100 of them would be in one level. So you get shifted every now and then. So I got very good friends.
What was your earliest memory?
On the island or in Singapore?
Any?
Yeah. I think my earliest memory in Singapore would be, I suppose, having a very happy life in my old home. And it's very peaceful, very friendly place. Something like a small community where you know everybody. My earliest memory coming to the island was taking my first flight in. I came in with the SIA flight. I still remember my seat number coming into the island, flying. I was 23 years old, I think, when I first sat in an aeroplane.
What do you remember about CI when you first arrived?
It's being a very small island compared to Singapore. The lifestyle was different. Like I said, I was working in the Navy in Singapore, where everything was very fast moving. I worked with refugees, you work very hard there. So when I first came to the island, it was very slow moving. Like I said, any slower for me, it would have stopped now. It was so slow. Work wasn't that difficult. When time to work, we had work, but I also had quite a lot of free time. In Singapore, in the Navy, I didn't have much free time. Like I said, I was working 6 to 7 days a week, with very little rest. Here, it was so nice for me. Slow moving, being a bachelor, it's very carefree also. To work out your future, trying to decide what you want to do. I'm sure, like all of you now, just trying to work out. I was lucky. I was sort of better educated than most of them at that point of time. That's where I actually got to join the union to fight to get in improvements for the Asians.
What language did the harbour master speak?
The harbour masters, they are English only, and because of their accent, that bloke I remember was a Pommy, a British. So when the British people speak, they got their accent, and if you don't understand English well, you find it hard to understand them.
Do you have anything that you do for fun right now?
For fun?
Yeah.
I like gardening, and I do a lot of cycling also.
What do you like gardening?
Any plants, flowers, plants, some veggies, and at the moment I'm trying to grow the eggplant, the terong. And
how has the community changed since you have been here?
so because we didn't get much pay before, so everything was a lot cheaper. So things were a lot cheaper. Nowadays, you find that life is a lot better than before. Here, we fought for quite a lot of freedom. You probably, it's hard to sort of describe to you like the life. It's like living in a different planet now. Last time we struggled for food, we struggled for things. Now, because your parents have been, or your grandparents or parents have been through all of this, you're getting the benefit. You're getting things for, you get to go out maybe once or twice a year, depends on where your parents around the world. You fly out to Malaysia, to Perth or whatever. But before that, it was once a year. We are allowed to go home, go back to Singapore, Malaysia, and we just can't leave anytime. We have to sort of get the company's permission to go out. And there was only one flight, I think a fortnight, one flight a week, one flight a fortnight. So you miss, if somebody pass away in Singapore or Malaysia, and like your parents, you can't get to go until the flight comes in, and then you go on. So life was a bit different. It was, I suppose, but we accepted. We accepted that sort of life.
I think we ran out of time, so the interview is finished. Thank you for letting us interview you.
You're welcome.